Hello, 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 everybody. Listen, this is Keisha. I am one half of the host of the Regal Mindset Podcast show. Jay, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Absolutely. I am Joy, the coach. I am the other half of the Regal Mindset Show. I am your coach, your mystic, your millionaire, and your mindset transformer.
Okay. I love it. I love it. So listen, so tonight, for one, I want to just say thank you everybody who will tune in or leave comments later on. We anticipate your conversation. Tonight, I think we're having a very important conversation that one I
Yeah.
feel is going to be necessary because I know I've experienced it. I know you're open to sharing how it has affected your life and what your
Mhm.
experiences are. But at the very end of the day, I think that the point of the conversation that we want to get across is providing visual context, right?
Right.
Validating our feelings and our experiences, and then of course liberation, right? And we hope that
Right.
this conversation will afford other people to have conversations if they feel like they've been in this kind of awkward maybe situation. So
Right.
we're talking about, does masculine energy scare you? Man, so this has kind of been like on my heart and my
Mhm.
spirit to have this discussion, and I'm so glad again for you bringing your perspective, because I had not considered what your perspective was in that, from the male perspective, and
Mhm.
then of course men who are interested in stud women or masculine
Mm.
women.
That's a
My
thing.
perspective, yeah, absolutely. My perspective was solely, tonally on my experience and my exposure to straight women and just women in period. And sometimes you can kind of tell that my presence,
Hmm.
right, can be a little off-putting to them, right?
Yeah.
So that was my perspective, but I appreciate and I love yours as well. And we could probably get to it, once we find some guests to lock down to continue the conversation. But I just think it's important.
Yeah, it is because it's oh God, it's so big
Yeah,
because we deal with our masculinity and our energy being so attractive to people.
yeah, that
But
part.
then the fear part and the scary part is they're scared because they are attracted. Then it's like, all right, one young lady put to me today, she was like, it's the toxicity of it
Oh
that is
wow.
scary. And I'm like, but in all actuality, it's a stereotype that
Yeah,
a lot of these studs, these little wannabe boys, are just they're toxic. We talked about it in the broke way. That's
yeah,
toxicity.
yeah,
Like if you don't can't function in life regularly, in society and stay level headed, that's toxic. You want to fight. You want to. I think when we talked about it, I think sometime last year about the fight, it was the stud in the film fighting and the stud tearing up the house and all of this
yeah,
stuff. So it brings a lot. But then on the man side, it's like a double-edged sword because you have some that are so attracted to it.
yeah,
Like
for sure.
their goal is to get a stud presenting or masculine presenting female, not the hard ones. They like the ones that still kind of got a feature of a girl but give off homeboy.
Yeah, okay.
Then then you got the ones like I experienced. Well, I experienced both of them. But when I used to go out to the club,
Yeah.
I got the bad end of it
Ooh.
because when I'm standing in line, you see all of these hips. You can't this wagon I'm dragging, and you really think I'm trying to be a boy? Like, no. And it's like, oh well, you think you're a man? No, I never said that. So I'm just asking, why are you searching me like you would do a man and not have a female to do it? And your response to me is, well, you think you're a man? No, you thought that. I didn't
Yeah.
think that. And I have boobs and everything else that come along with it. I'm not like what gave you that thought?
Yeah.
So it scares them because it gives intimidation, it gives challenge, it gives competition that you can't deny.
Okay. I can see that.
I listen, it is what it is. We
Yeah.
can't help that our cream cheese is smooth on our bagels. That's you.
Hey, they better recognize that they was
Exactly.
smart. They
And
would pay
you
attention.
could be our friend.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be our enemy.
Yeah.
And because you're not our enemy, it's like, I guess once we are at a certain age, we know where we stand in life. So it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm not bothered that you're bothered.
Right.
I hate that for you. I really
Right.
do. I
Right.
hate that for you because you're upset because I'm doing good.
Right. You're absolutely right. In the professional sense and the personal sense. And then more than likely, you probably got somebody that they want.
That part. And
Okay.
professional, I think it's even worse. Well, let me back up. On the white collar side,
Yeah.
it's not a problem. I've never had a problem. But on the blue collar side, when I'm on construction sites, it's a problem. To the lower end people, it's a problem. When I go into a boardroom, anything like that, and I got on a bow tie, it's no different than anything.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But then when I'm on a construction site and I'm with a GC that's spitting snuff on the ground and got on those cowboy work boots, it's a problem.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you the one got an issue, not me.
Yeah. 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 So let me ask you this, and I know the answer for me. Have you ever found yourself in the position where you've had to kind of soften yourself in order to enter those spaces or to be able to relate, whether it's professionally or personally? No?
No, because even though I dress masculine,
Right.
I'm not really masculine identifying.
Okay. Okay.
Because I'm about as much girl as y'all gonna get.
Yeah, I got you.
And I embrace that. I might not wear skirts, I might not, put on makeup or anything like that, but I do love that part of me.
Yeah.
Now granted, do I want to lose weight? Absolutely. And I'm working on that, but I love the way I'm shaped. I do.
Right.
I love it. So it's like, no, I don't even try to hide it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't identify in that way to where I prefer masculine over the femininity side of me.
Okay. Okay.
I like existing.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And it's not even about a label. Exactly, LS. And it's not even about a label, because if I did have a label, I'm a demisexual.
Okay.
If that's a label.
Right.
But if you want to put me in as a stud, that's fine. If you want to say I'm softly dominant, that's fine. It doesn't matter. Just don't call me a boy.
Right. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not
absolutely.
A boy. Well, I'm not a man. Let me back that up, because you can call me a boy. Like, hey, I'm okay with the B-O-I, but not man.
Yeah. Thank you for clearing that up for those who are interested. But my experience is slightly different in that I have a professional job, an office setting, employment, and I found myself in certain instances or certain situations where I have kind of had to soften my presence, in the sense that a lot of times, and when I show up to work, I'm dressed, really well. And I think what some of that is my energy matches my style or my swag. Sometimes it feels like, now this is just my perspective, right? It feels like either they're intimidated, right? Male or female, right? Whether it is envy, right? And that could be some of it. And then, so I find myself having to be, and it could just be my complex, I don't know, but I find myself having to be more friendly, more open to kind of disarm them in a way so that they don't feel as intimidated, and they don't feel as if my energy that I bring and my presence is a threat to them in some way.
But then that's not fair, because they're not getting all of you. They're not getting the authentic you, because you command a room when you walk in.
Yeah.
That's one thing everybody can say across the board. You, Keisha, command a room when you come in. That's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And that's a good thing. You don't even have to open your mouth for them to know you're there. Right. And so they're missing that part. They're missing the true authentic, but that's a black-white thing too. We can put it on that level, because us as Black people have to soften ourselves to make others comfortable.
Yeah.
So It's and then I can also say maybe it's also related to your experience in the military because you was doing the time of don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
I
that's
get that
true.
part. I get it, and that's their loss.
Yeah,
But yeah, absolutely not. It's like I don't care. I mean,
yeah.
that's
Well,
I'm not here to make you feel comfortable. I'm not
absolutely
here.
true.
And if you and there's no such thing as misgendering me because that means you're doing it on purpose.
Right. That's true.
Whether my hair was long or short, you're doing it on purpose. And you can't get mad because I'm a bad bitch in boy clothes.
That part.
That's just that. If
Yeah.
I can wear it better than you, you need to work on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think nobody should ever, like especially you, should ever have to humble yourself because that's what it is.
Yeah.
When you bring yourself to a lower state or a low esteem for
Yep.
the next person, no, give them all of you. They deserve that. And if they can't take it, then that means it's a check they can't cash because their bank account can't hold it.
Yeah. You're
Point blank,
absolutely
period.
right. Yeah. Absolutely right. So and be mindful also made up she echoed the same feelings that I feel. I think for me, and I appreciate your compliments. I really
Mhm.
do. Everybody and Keisha in the comments as well. I think for me it's just a way to I'm not going to change who I am, but I also want to create a space to where you can see me in my fullness, right? So
Mhm.
visibility, right, is one of the things that again I want to be able to come out of this conversation is to be in a place or to be in a work environment, whether professional, office setting or any other type of employment, you want to be seen, right? And how I show up and how the confidence that I exude, and when I do, that's who I want you to meet. So me softening myself to whether it's approach you to have a conversation or to invite you in is my gesture, kind of like just an olive branch. You're like, hey,
Yeah.
this is who I am. If you see someone else who
Mhm.
has perhaps the same energy, the same style, the same swag, don't be so guarded, right?
Mhm.
When you see them, because we're still people, right? We want
Right.
to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to be validated for who we are. It doesn't diminish who you are as
Yeah.
a person. And you have, hey, much respect. We work in here and we walk through the same building. We work here together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the perspective I have from that.
No, and I get that
Yeah.
because while you were talking, it's almost similar to I can soften the room by just making a joke. I try to
Yeah.
use humor.
Yeah.
And so I get it because it's like, all right, one, they know I don't like to talk to them anyway. So maybe that's why I go over a little overboard with the humor because I'm like, yeah, I love you too, baby. Um, but it's like, I try to soften it with the humor. So I
Yeah.
get that part. However, when it comes down to my presence, only because I know I have to look at it from a white black thing. Because I don't have a boy girl thing. I have more girl issue on a
Ah,
job because it's always a white woman that has a problem with me, never a white man.
yeah.
It's always a
Wow.
white woman. Um, if it is a man, it's typically because somebody who reports to me,
Okay.
and that's not my problem either. So
Right.
it's typically somebody who reports to me that has a problem with me because I do exert that authority. What's going on, Jersey? And I exert that authority, and they can't take that. I'm pretty very straight and firm when I talk, so
Hmm.
I think that bothers them. But that again, that's not my problem,
Right.
and I should not have to maneuver the way I communicate for you to hear. Now, unless you're
Absolutely.
deaf and I need to use sign language, that's something different. But you should be open to hear just as much as I'm open to speak. Because
Yeah.
if I'm not using derogatory language, name calling, anything like that, what is the issue?
Right.
What is the issue?
I
So
100% agree.
that's my biggest thing. It's like, no, but we all have a way of making people feel comfortable. So I get that part. I just feel that they should be okay by now.
I feel that way. I agree, but I also have to understand that my experience and where I am in life in this 2025 doesn't mean that the other people that I encounter have arrived at the same place, right?
Mhm.
And also to that point, what I mean by that is, let's say my counterpart, right, who may sit next to me, did not go through life, maybe one, even knowing a black person, or
Mhm.
very, very limited black people or exposure to black people of color. And to add to that, a masculine presenting person. They may have never come in
Yeah.
contact with a black or white, right? So their experiences are very different from mine. And I can't necessarily hold them accountable
Mhm.
for their misfortune, right? Because they could have had, some great experiences or some great relationships with people. I,
Mhm.
I think again, my perspective is I always want people, or try to create a space for people to be comfortable enough to approach other people who look like me,
Mhm. So
right?
you wanna be like a trailblazer. You wanna make space for other people.
Well, in a lot of ways, I feel like I am, right? Because I could be that person's first encounter with either or, right? And I've had people come to me and have conversations. You know what? I've never met anybody like you. You're so well spoken. You're so professional. You're
They
this,
trying
that,
to
and that.
fill on you. That's why.
Oh, and it's very possible, right? Listen, I'm not mad at them. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, cousin. But my point is, I want to make conversation with people who don't look like them, who may not have had
Mhm.
the same experiences as them, to be normal, their new normal, right? If they come in contact with you, they should
Mhm.
be comfortable enough to approach you, whether you got on a three-piece suit or a shirt, a dress shirt, brooch, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't, who and how I present myself, that is me, has nothing
Right.
to do with you.
Right. And
And
it's
it shouldn't
like
prevent us from having a conversation.
it's 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 not weird. It's eye opening to
Yeah.
see it from that perspective. Only because maybe because I just never cared enough. I never cared.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I dress up for me.
Okay.
It's how, if I put it together, it's because of how I felt with it.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter if you liked it or not. It's what I felt. And so I never cared enough to where you being comfortable was a concern. That's why I guess maybe that, and that's probably one of the reasons why I never had that experience as the coming out experience. Because I
Okay.
didn't know.
Yeah.
It's, God said, let there be, and I was. That's just how it happened.
In
Like
that order.
in that order. I did. It's like, okay, so you mad because I had one person to, as a friend, respond to me when she found out that I was a lesbian, that I'm a lesbian, and then she was like, she just stopped talking to me and everything. And I'm sitting there like, first of all, you're not my type. Nowhere near.
Let's
Because
get
I
that
guess
clear.
maybe they feel when people learn that that's your preference, they start acting as if they're on the shelf. And I'm like, I got taste buds. I got specifics.
Yeah.
I
I
got
got a fight.
criteria, and you're not it. Like, and then I ask sometimes, why you never say nothing to me? Again, I have my own, like, no, like, why do you think? And
Yeah.
and you know what? And I'm gonna also pivot to this real quick. Even at work, I find a lot of women, especially white women, but
Yeah.
a lot of women in general, I find their true colors at the holiday party
Ah, interesting.
because they always tipsy and
I
I'm
was gonna
always
say that.
dancing by myself and they always want to seem to gravitate to me. And I'm like, all right, Cheryl, move.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you're not gonna be under the mistletoe with me. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, and I don't feel bad for people who've been in those experiences because everybody has to have an experience. But it's like I don't want nobody to have to make they don't go out their way to make me feel comfortable.
Right. Right.
And I've been in especially my first job when I first started with Johnson Control, nobody went out their way to make me comfortable. I was invited to a women's conference. All the women was. Our manager, a man, said, "Hey girls, since it's in New York, I want all of y'all to go together to be safe, blah, blah." I'm like, okay. What you think them women did? They was already in New York when I got there. Didn't even, we made plans, everything. It was a whole Mean Girl club. And I'm like, you bet you'll never do that
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, no, you don't go out your way to make me feel comfortable. So I don't feel like I owe you that courtesy.
Yeah.
If you can't up your tolerance game, then you'll get the side that you don't want to see.
Right. And listen, I get that it's not necessarily our responsibility, right, to make other people comfortable.
It's a courtesy.
Right. And I think, again, for me, it's not that I want to be known as a trailblazer in that sense, but I do just want to create a space where, again, and that's just because I've been in places or been in spaces where I haven't felt seen, right? And I didn't feel like I had a voice to be able to say comfortably what my thoughts and my perspective was, right? And that could be me, right? So in my journey or my shifting in my mindset, now that I'm showing up in these spaces as my full self with the confidence and the level of education that I have or that I bring to the table, and my presence and my energy, which is BDE, okay? And because I show up in that way, one, there's a level of respect that should be,
Oh God, you gave me indigestion. I love that little shameless plug.
Listen, I want the level of respect that I feel I deserve, but also I just want to make it a safe space to be comfortable. We're just having a conversation. I'm not asking you out. We're not, it's just a platonic friendship or a business conversation, and you should be comfortable enough to approach me even if you may not understand everything about me, and that's okay.
Right. Yeah,
that's okay. That doesn't mean that I have to explain everything either, right?
Maybe it's that. Maybe because you have that BDE, that's why you got to make them comfortable.
But they go grab their husband or grab their wife or something, like, baby, please.
Listen, I get grabbed. I be like, oh God. I mean, I don't mind certain people, but it's sometimes I be like, get that brute off me. I got on Creed original Santel and you got on brute. Get off me. There's nothing to mix this with what I got on.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. But I just think that's important, and it is unfortunate, and I know that you and I aren't the only two, and there's a couple people that's online. If y'all would share the live, so other people who may need to hear or have this conversation can join us, I really appreciate that. If you share the live, give me a thumbs up in the comments. But yeah, I think that other people are experiencing this, and they may or may not, feel alone, right? I hope that they don't, right? And if you do feel alone, then reach out to us and let us know, and we can talk you through it. Or
if we like you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I meant the masculine presenting people, right? They may be feeling like I'm experiencing this, I'm going through this alone, and I don't feel seen, I don't feel heard, and I don't, when I enter spaces, people quiet and they don't know how to take me. They don't, it's lack of or they're disrespectful in some ways, and all of those kinds of things. I've dealt with a wide range or a gamut of those things, and you can get through it.
Yeah. And I think, and it's good to know that you're not alone, and there's people that have dealt with it before, and that can offer you, support, offer you some type of, direction. But if I could pivot to a part that we really don't need to talk about that often, how it is scary between two studs. That's sometimes the worst energy, because it's like, why really? Like, it's like, if you go into, like, for example, back then, Shay always had friends, and she always wanted me to be friends with their friend, because I'm be friends with their girl, and I'm sitting there babysitting somebody's girl at an event or something like that, which I don't mind. But I'm like, so with that being said, most studs don't be up there like, oh, just come out freely talk, unless you know each other or something like that, or you just involved in the conversation.
Okay.
They typically stand over there you stand over here, and it's almost that two opposites energy. Even though
Okay.
we might really be good friends, but
Yeah.
because your studness don't want my studness, it's a lot. And I'm like, I don't have time. That's why I don't play around. I just go over there with the girls anyway, because we're gonna laugh and kiki, and y'all can go watch football. I don't care. What?
I got you now. I got you.
Okay, you get, because maybe I couldn't get it out, but it's always a tension.
Yeah.
Like what's up?
And
you got to walk harder than me. You got to pull your pants down. Is it that serious?
it shouldn't be. I think some of that. Okay, I see what you're saying now. That has not, well, if it has happened to me, I didn't care because I just don't choose to carry things that don't belong to me.
Right.
But I could see that happening. Now, me personally, I don't feed into things that I don't want to continue to live. So with that mindset and that energy that I have, I will go over and speak, right? I don't say a whole lot because I don't want you to get the wrong impression, right? Like, this is not me trying to move.
Like, I'm trying to get your number.
Right. I'm coming to say hello because I see another, person who may be on the same team. I don't want to presume, but I'm just coming over to speak, to be respectful, right? Hey, and keep it moving. But while we were talking, I was reminded of an incident that just happened like maybe a few weeks ago. I was at a networking event right here in Columbus, and I had on a suit, right? And I had on a shirt. I was looking real nice. I ain't gonna flex, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I will flex. Let me just say that. I will flex, right? Listen, I'm not afraid. I was looking sharp. I was looking good. So I walked into this room, right? Never seen these people a day in my life, right? I had met with the director on the phone because he's the person who invited me. So I'm here, I'm showing up to this event, and every person that came to me, they first said, I came over here because of the suit. I wanted to talk to the suit. That's their
I gotta see the suit. I gotta see the suit.
And I said, well, thank you. And they're like, you look great. I said, thank you. And I'm such and such and such, and I went into my whole little spill, right? But everybody at the little networking, the 30, 40 people that was there, that's their comment. And every one of them, they was like, well, yeah, I was going to get around to you, but I had to talk to you about the suit. Okay, yeah, thank you. I like, it's nice.
We got to see this suit.
Yeah, let me talk to you about this, and then we go pivot right on into what we got to do. But so in that instance, right, when you're able to show up in your whole self and you can be seen and you're being validated, that is liberating. And that adds even more sauce, right, onto the entire experience. And then again, like you said, and it could just be me. I walked in there as if it was my building. Y'all at my function.
You listen, you better own it. Yes.
What y'all want to talk about? And they did. And they came over, and it was a great experience. But when you're in that space with other, and there were other masculine presenting people in there as well. I don't make it feel as though it's a competition. Only because when you're in your own lane, there is no competition,
exactly.
Right?
But that's my mindset, right?
So but for those people who do feel intimidated and who are a little standoffish for whatever reason, right? They may have their own experiences again, right? Which is very different from mine. That's just what it is.
But in all actuality, I feel that way about our org.
Okay,
it's like we go out and now a lot of people don't approach us, but when we're in the setting, we're everywhere. Especially some people that are community frat start out there. But I really feel that is just us. Like when we're at an event, we don't mind helping, we don't mind stepping in, we don't mind, we're there. But so I think maybe it's just a natural part of us to be like, we're
an extension. Yeah,
exactly. We're it. So I don't think. But maybe when we attract that type of people around us too, that are very confident in their own way. Yeah. And I love that. I love that about everybody we're associated with, because you can stand on your own.
Yes.
Now it's something that I question how they stand it. I'm like, what you got on? But stress, style, and versatility. Because some of you go back in that room.
Yeah.
Put on some clothes.
Yeah. Well, so in that instance, or in those situations, right, there are some people, right, who have masculine energy who want to be seen, right? They will literally stand in the front, and waving out, not literally, but in a way, they want to be seen. They want to be. To me, that looks like the little person in them
Mhm.
who was never heard, who could not speak or advocate for themselves, and wanted to draw attention. So to
Yeah.
me, it just looks like a little person having a tantrum.
Well, it kind
There's
of
no
depends on my
need.
outfit because if this outfit needs your attention, it's going
Yeah,
to get seen. So,
right. Exactly. So you don't
listen,
have to be loud. You know what I'm
no,
saying?
I'm gonna just stand there and let you take it in. That's it.
As you should. You know what I'm saying? As you should.
Listen, whenever you get to wear that top hat, we just gonna stand there, let them take it in from north, east, south, and west.
Man, okay. What you say.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, I agree. But for those, again, for those people who are intimidated, who are also masculine presented,
I'm
uh
sorry.
it's yeah.
I'm
It's not that
sorry.
deep. It's
It's
really not.
not because there's no competition. You should be so strong in
Yeah.
who you are. I don't care. Saying hey shouldn't kill you. Or
Right.
you don't have to throw out your ball just because you think my balls are out. It's not that serious.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's okay to share a compliment with somebody else. Oh, you
Yeah.
look really nice. Yeah, you
Yeah.
dope. I like that.
If you're a real prince, I'll marry you, whatever.
That's
But no, but I get it. And it's like, but how okay, so in the workplace, what
yeah.
would be your how would you tell somebody to navigate that, to navigate it? You know who Jersey is, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
right. That's my number 4, my re
Yeah.
D5 with capital
Yeah.
DE, heavy on the DE. Go ahead.
I would encourage them again to be comfortable in their own skin, right? There's no need for you to try to pretend to be someone else, something else, right? Because people can pick up on, the fakeness, right? People can
Mhm.
genuinely tell whether or not you're trying to be, or fabricating, or just trying to fake the funk.
Yeah.
And because of that, people won't trust you. I feel
Mhm.
like. So I would always encourage people to show up, as themselves, right? And so, being in front of several people, especially if you have to speak, right? Or present something, people, tend to get nervous. But again, for me, right, I treat it as if I am going to have a conversation with these people about something that they do not know at this point, because I'm presenting something, right? And they may have questions, but you're going to know that I am here to do a job.
Right.
And my
Right.
confidence, my presentation, my energy, myself in this room is going to accomplish that job. And we can
Yeah.
get to the questions. And so you're comfortable and you have the warm and fuzzy, and you can move on about your day. I can move on about my day, but that's the task at hand. And that's
Mhm.
the energy that I'm going to always bring. And I would encourage someone else to do the same.
You know what? Another good perspective. And
Yeah.
if Jersey could put in the comments, because Jersey is a licensed therapist.
Yeah.
So just imagine being and that masculine identified, and Jersey gives mask.
Yeah. Yeah.
She gives
Rightfully
mask
so.
all day.
Yeah. Rightfully so.
Right. So, just even in that type of setting. But then what about individuals? So like educators
Okay.
in this classroom, because some
Ah,
parents don't
yeah.
like or they feel some type of way,
Yeah.
so how will we help them navigate
Mhm.
that?
Mhm. Good point. So I have a part B too. I'll get to that once I
Okay,
finish
go ahead.
explaining. I think it's important to show up as your authentic self, right?
Mhm.
And I think once you are able to build a trusting and open relationship with the kids, then those kids will feel comfortable with you. And because the kids are comfortable with you, it should filter in, or run into the parents' experience, and they should have the same. I feel like the same energy that they're picking up off the kid. Now, from that, Is it going to be uncomfortable at times? Yes,
Yeah.
from the sense or from the perspective of this. And it's happened to me, but my own grandkids have asked me this. Sometimes when you're a masculine presenting person, right, and you show up, especially as a teacher or teachers or whatever, in that kind of setting, you're going to get questions from little kids who may not know how to have,
Right.
any
Are
kind
you
of
a boy or
etiquette,
you a
right?
girl?
Exactly. Are you a boy? Are you a girl? So, and again, that's why I mentioned my grandkids. They have asked me that. And I'm like, I'm a girl.
Right.
But you have to figure out a way to have that conversation, one, and also be respectful again, for what the parents may or may not have had a conversation with those kids.
And the fact that they're still children. So you can't even be
Exactly.
offended. You can't sit
Yeah.
there, you misgendered me. They don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
And real quick, I had a frat to do that. We
Oh wow.
was having an event at the house or whatever, and they told our 12-year-old, he's 12 now, and they was like, "You call me uncles?" I said, "Nope, we don't do that because at that time and age, we're not introducing that to him until he can comprehend it."
Right.
And no, like I don't mind what you want to be called. We will respect that.
Yeah.
But it was the way it was like you're presented to him that you are a man, and he doesn't see it like that. And our son is our son. And we just couldn't, it wasn't time to navigate that type of conversation in his age
Absolutely.
and in his mental capacity. So
Right.
it's like, yeah, we're not going to do that. Either they can call you by your name or whatever like that, but he's not going to be calling a female daddy. We're not there to have that conversation.
Right.
Until we're ready. Plus, he has a very active father in his life. That has to be a conversation for everybody.
Yeah.
Not just our house.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? And so some people have to be mindful of that. Like, listen, just because you want to be Superman today doesn't mean that person see you as Superman. They might see you as Batman.
Yeah.
And that's what they'll call you. And it doesn't mean you can't be Superman. You just got to, be okay.
Yeah.
And you will know the difference with somebody trying to be a butt versus a kid. Now, some of them kids need to.
Yeah.
Some of them kids are mean, and you need to punch them in their face. But then it's so that, especially them little kindergartens, they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know if they're a boy or girl. So it's hard for a mass to show up if you are not comfortable in that walk. Exactly. Conversations with children can be challenging. You can't laugh at yourself with them. Exactly. They don't care. Yeah, they don't care. Because I seen a little boy hit a baseball and then he did the Santana bounce. You ever seen the Santana bounce?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was a little white boy. Hit that ball. They said, no, he did the whole. It's like, did he just do the Santana? He sure did.
Yeah. Wow, man.
And
Yeah,
his coach was mad once he found out what that was. I'm like, yeah, you shook them titties in a circle. He sure did. He sure did.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. But and I think for those parents who are uncomfortable with having a person of the rainbow alphabet as a teacher or as whatever, in those kinds of settings, I think that's a disadvantage because they don't. The reason that we can be a great, I don't want to say that. In order for us to get to greatness, we have to embrace diversity, right? Everybody, as those kids grow up and go through life, will not meet people who look like them, smell like them, act like them, talk like them, or have the same sexuality.
And then to think that is life is horrible.
Yeah.
And we find that out about all of these lawmakers that are trying to say, oh, drag queens do this. No, children are confused because they don't know.
Yeah.
And that's it. They don't know that part exists. Yeah. They don't know that there's an outside world outside of the sheltered life that you put them in. Yeah. So when they go out, they get to be wild dogs. They get so lost because you confuse them in thinking that there's only black or white. There's only that there's no gray area in life. And that is a big issue. Like, with this whole
all women are femme.
Yeah. And like, there's some lady boys out there that will confuse the hell out of you. And baby, you need to know that there are things called lady boys.
Lady boys, I love it.
And And it's okay. You might find yourself attracted to one. And you got to be comfortable enough as an adult to have that conversation. You might find yourself attracted to what mommy don't like, or that's fine. But let's navigate through it. I don't want you to be ashamed.
Or be an adult.
Now if my son walked the hill like Little Myrtle and brought home Uncle Clifford, we have to have that conversation. Because you ain't finna outdress me, Uncle Clifford.
Yeah, absolutely, Jersey.
Yeah,
I agree with that too. 100%.
Yeah, but I think, like you said, have to have those conversations.
Absolutely.
Open up children, and I find it even more confusing because when we were in school, we had access to a lot of different topics. A lot of topics wasn't fought against. They made sure we knew a lot. That's why we knew how to tell time on clocks. We knew how to drive. We came out. We had real life experiences versus now these kids don't know nothing.
Yeah.
And that's because everybody will say, I don't want my child to learn about that. But you did when you was in school.
Yeah.
You don't want nobody to tell your child about drugs until they own it.
Yeah.
We knew about crack from there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was the war on drugs.
Listen, I 100% agree. And sometimes, again, those conversations can be delicate, especially when you're dealing with young kids, because their minds, and then I feel like it's only appropriate at a particular age, right? So me explaining to a 4-year-old that, you got 2 grandmas, but you also have a grandfather, right? You may not see them as often, but you have 2 grandmothers, and that's okay too. I said, you got the best of both worlds. Yeah.
Because at that point they know what's going on.
Right.
They
know. We're married. You see our, our wedding pictures and the whole nine, and we'll talk about, and I always tell them, I said, we can talk about it a little bit later when you get a little bit bigger, we can have more discussion about it. But when they ask, I don't shut them down and I don't dismiss them, because I don't want them to have those feelings and have those conversations with other people or other kids and they not know how to navigate it themselves, or they get wrong information.
Yeah. And next thing you know, everybody, they mad at us. Tell me they want to kill us in our sleep. And we're like, what did I do today? Or they feel that a mommy and daddy is the perfect scenario. And I'm like, in some cases it's not.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Even with our daughter, we're going to have that conversation. She's going to ask, sure. How did I get here? And we're going to have professional help, because I'll be honest, I bought you.
I wouldn't use those words,
but I know me. I'm gonna be like, I bought you. So I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
But we have to prepare for that. We have to prepare for that conversation whenever she meets her other siblings.
Okay.
We have to have all of those conversations.
Right.
Jay
had a great
going to come. Too. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like but parents have to be mature.
Yes.
You have to be mature to have that conversation. It's like, it's so much in life now that it's sad that we even have to still explain the white and black scenario. We should be past that.
You would think. Well, when we got an orange person, that makes it difficult to understand.
Because he's his own color bracket.
Yeah. But we're not going to talk about orange tonight. We're talking about masculine presenting women and whether or not it scares other people. Now, again, my perspective. I'm sorry. Was initially about women, straight women, and some women who are questionable. We'll say questionable, right? That's what they always.
They want to live vicariously.
Yeah, right. But those women, in my experience, have been. It seems they're a little bit, intimidated or scared, right? But your perspective, let's talk about, they be fake. But listen, we're gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. We're gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, orange.
Yeah, exactly.
Justice already asked us how you should do daddy do the hard, but we can handle it. Okay, yeah, but y'all her parents and y'all know what she can handle.
I'm scared to ask Red what she said.
We can talk about it offline that way.
Yeah, because I'm scared. But the whole masculinity fear was there before the transgender fear came about.
Yeah.
Because I think when that generation of bulldaggers was, everybody was,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Then it came down to, studs. Oh my God. It's like
Yeah.
it migrated down, and now they're like, I think people are more scared when it's a form of attraction there
Ah.
than a fear.
Yeah. Because they
I'll
don't
take that.
understand it.
Yeah, I'll take that approach. That I think you're afraid because you have some level of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
Same
Mm-hmm.
thing when I say about men that strongly dislike gay men. You need to question why you hate it so bad.
Yeah.
Because a person who didn't care don't care.
Yeah.
But
I
you got
agree.
a problem. You, my son, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think it's a level of attraction that they just haven't dealt with. We know that women who do all their best to avoid you,
Mm-hmm.
you're avoiding yourself. That don't have nothing to do with
Mm.
me. And I'm
Mm.
not going to misplace myself or go around the corner unless I just don't want to talk to you. Go
Yeah.
around the third corner to make you okay.
Yeah.
Same thing with men. Like, there's a level of attraction.
Yeah.
Point
Well, I
blank.
definitely don't turn mine down. But I will say, listen, I ain't turning it down. I don't listen, you just don't. It's okay if you don't like it. It's okay that
Exactly.
it is what it is. But I will say, like from your perspective of a male, whether it's an attraction to a masculine presenting person, I've not had that direct experience. I had an indirect experience. We'll talk about it another
You ain't
time.
got a lot of booty though. You got to have a lot of more booty for them.
Well, I think
It's
what
the
it is,
thing.
it's the masculinity with that you carry about yourself, right? And your
Mhm.
demeanor and your swag is what they're more so attracted to
Yeah.
versus the anatomy, right? I think that has happened to me, right?
Mhm.
But not necessarily for I didn't take it seriously in the sense that there was to be something other than that, right? That's just what it
Right.
is. That's your feelings. You're in control of your feelings. I know how I feel,
You're right.
and that's what it is. But I would love to hear the perspective of a man who does have interest
Yeah.
in a masculine presenting person and where that stems from, what that's about for them. I would
I
love to
would
have that
love to
conversation.
know.
Yeah.
Because like, is it a game? And like, what is it? And then I
Oh,
would also like to know, especially if there's a man that has a problem with it. We can
oh,
have that conversation because I would love to know why. Like,
yeah,
what is it that causes you such a great deal of distress when it's
yeah,
only affecting you? You're the only one
yeah.
who have a heart attack, nobody else. I would love to know that. And if there's, anybody who consider themselves straight these days, if you have a perspective, let us know because your opinion matters. Everybody's opinion matter at the Regal Mindset.
For sure, absolutely. So I got one other question for you. Do you feel as though there's ever a double standard in terms of how masculine presenting women show up versus a dominant person, or a dominant femme, or any other classification of feminine women or women in general? Let's say that. Is there any double standards that you can think of?
Well, yeah, I don't even think we got time for that, but I can tell you, I'm hypocritical out of this
Okay.
world.
Okay.
I'll be the first one to say I have a double standard about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I know that about me. It's like how we talked about, how I see other studs, and if they're not being the head of a household in that way, I have an issue with you.
Yeah.
I have an issue with those who have children and you are masculine identifying and you're not a parent the way
Ah.
you need to parent.
Okay.
You're like a deadbeat. And I
Okay.
know some of those.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I can't, and that's why we can't be friends because we're not on the same page.
Right.
And especially when I know that, especially us that went through the process
Uh-huh.
of having our children and things
Uh-huh.
like that, and how all we had to go through to get them, and this is where we want to be, and you had that opportunity, and then you disappear like the other nigga.
Yeah.
We can't be friends.
Yeah.
No, we can't be friends. We can't. And then you want to blame it on another. No, you still have to be responsible, especially if that child even got your last name.
Yeah.
That's no, we're absolutely not. So I have a lot of, I think it's a lot. And I think everybody see every category differently.
Okay.
Because it's like, if we go on a date, if it's me and a femme there, well, me and my wife there, who you think gonna pick up the ticket?
This happens to me all the time.
Most people, they're never going to just hand the ticket off to her.
Right.
They know they're going to send the ticket this way.
Yeah.
So it's like everybody got that. Everybody have that perspective that we are supposed to be dominant in all ways. That's the reason why a lot of their first questions are you the boy in the relationship? Why does the boy has to be? Because typically the boy is the one that's getting taken care of. Just not over here.
You know what?
So
I hope
everybody have a standard.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you from that perspective. And I think that a lot of times, often, especially I'll start with the workplace. When a feminine woman shows up, we could be doing the same tasks, right? The same responsibility. Mm-hmm. When they show up in the room, people, they're attentive, right? They're listening, right? Because there's something they're comfortable with, right? They're comfortable hearing information presented to them from a person who looks feminine, right? Even in a man's,
unless she's ugly,
job environment.
Unless she's ugly.
Ugly is subjective. I'll say that.
No,
because
ugly. You've seen some people that you be like, yeah, no. I don't even know why your parents did that to you.
Yeah. Well, but it is what it is. But I think that people are more open to those kinds of work relationships versus when I show up in a room and I come in, it feels like to me, and I could be wrong, right? But this is my experience. This is my perspective. Mm-hmm. It feels like I have to do a little bit more to convince you, one, that I'm qualified, two, that I know what I'm talking about, and three, that I'm not up here to show you my outfit.
It does diminish you based off of that. And even though you could be more educated than the other person, but even on a simpler form, if you walked into a room and Donna walked into a room, two black women, mm-hmm. You're masculine, she's feminine, and there's a box right there. The man will probably pick the box up for Donna, but he's gonna looking at you while you ain't picked that box up.
Yeah, true. That is
so
true.
Whether it's a subconscious bias, or unconscious bias, everybody has some level of bias.
Yeah.
So I get why you say, okay, well, let me help you because I know that bias exists.
Yes.
So I want to help you. So even if it's not there, it's a possibility that it's there. I'm going to help navigate you through it. I'm going to take your hand and walk you through it. Me, I'm like, you better open your eyes and find your way through that maze because it ain't my job to help you see anything different.
That's true.
I get it. But again, no matter what aspect we put it in, no matter what place it is, if you're on the side of the road and can't change your tire, how many people gonna stop for you? Versus if BJ was out there with her tire not changed. Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, she gonna be sitting in the car. She calling AAA.
Yeah.
She ain't getting out nobody.
But they'll be like, "What? You okay?
Right.
You all right?"
You're absolutely right.
If you stand there and cry, who coming over there to hug you?
That is true.
So it's everybody got that level of bias.
Yeah, I agree. Well, so again, and we're about to be wrapping up here. So I felt like this conversation was necessary and it was needed, right? Because again, we want to be sure that we're offering a platform where we can help navigate conversations that need to be had, grow, right, and express and show each other empathy, stretch our perspectives and our ideas and our experiences, and show that masculine presenting women are able to show up in spaces and you, the other person, not be intimidated or not feel threatened by their presence, right? We are human. We're all human, sharing a human experience. And that's really all we wanted to be able to offer. I'm
And
glad
I'm
I told you
glad.
that.
I am so
Well,
glad,
thank you,
Vanessa, that you
Vanessa.
said to offer it. But it's so
Yeah,
true. It's so
yeah,
true. And I think in every space, because I was very biased today, and I'll
yeah.
admit it. It was an older stud, she like a
Okay.
grandma stud.
Oh,
She only had like $3 to her name,
okay.
and she was trying to count it up for something. And I could have just said, "We'll pay for it." But you're a stud. No, you figure out where you get the rest of that $2 from. I ain't tell my wife though, but I was like,
Oh, that's
"You better
funny.
figure that out, Grandma."
Yeah.
I don't care
Now,
how
you
old you
see,
are.
I'm a little different from you. I would do it regardless of whether,
This is
if I
wrong
could
with
help, right? I would do it regardless of whether you're mask or femme. But because again, I want God to bless me before you can give me whatever you got in your pocket, or
you.
whatever. I want what He gonna give me. So my job and my responsibility would be to
He
help.
ain't tell me to give her $2.
She said she seen your face, so she is.
But just think, in a normal situation, if it
Yeah,
was a feminine woman there,
yeah.
something like that, you probably say, "I don't worry, I'll pay the little $2.
You know
Give
what?
me
I
your
might.
4, I pay for the 2." If it was, but we wouldn't have did it for a man though. Think
But I
about
might
it.
have been a little bit more hesitant to do it for a film because I don't want her to get the wrong impression, right? So maybe I'm gonna do it differently, right? So maybe I would
Okay.
just give it, to and then just walk away because I don't want you to think that this is anything other than what it is. I'm just gonna, help you out here, lady. That's just what it is. I don't want them to take it the wrong way. You know what I mean? So
I ain't helping nobody.
I just may feel a little bit different.
Yeah, I get it though,
So then
because I can see
if it
how
were a
they can
masculine
take it the
presenting
wrong way.
person. Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I get that.
If it's a mass presenting person, then I was like, "Hey, let me help you out, bro. It is, it's cool. I've been there. I've
That's
had
why
been
that's why we
short or
yin and
whatever.
yang. You'll help, and I'll be like,
Yeah. Say, well,
yeah, but if it's an older person, like
yeah.
a old man or old woman that's
Yeah.
sitting on the walker track, I'll pay for it no day
Yeah.
because I feel like maybe they need a little bit more assistance.
Sure.
If it's a little young dude, now if he got like some Pampers and he come up $2 short, it depends on what's there.
Right. I get
I'm like, okay, maybe there's a need. He's like $1 or $2 short on some diapers. I help you out, dude. I ain't got no problem with that.
yeah.
But if you just trying to buy a razor and a Slim Jim, you're gonna just be short.
You got the pick, bro. Right.
Which one you want? You want a
Yeah.
Slim Jim or you want to shave?
Right. Exactly. I got you.
I
I'm
get
right
it.
there with you. Well, listen. So one thing that I hope again that we've been able to do, right? And if you are a male, right, a straight male, or if you are a male who is attracted to masculine presenting women, then we would love to hear from you.
Or have a
Please reach out
problem.
to us. Yeah, we want to have a conversation because we're just interested in knowing your perspective and your experiences, so
Right.
that you can share with our community, with our audience, and we can continue the conversation. So, do you have anything else you want to say?
No, I do hope that we have some people that will reach out, especially from a male perspective, because we can't speak for everybody. We
Right.
only can speak from certain experiences, and it would be good to hear your voice,
Yeah.
to hear, how do you feel about it? Like,
Yeah.
is it one way or the other? Do you
Yeah.
have a problem? Have you ever had a problem? Because you might want to pull your wife closer when we walk by. I don't know.
Some cases you should.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if it's Jill Scott, you better pull
Yeah, but no, I
her.
I agree. Once upon a time that okay, no, that's another show. Okay.
Hey, you gonna get
Uh,
in trouble.
listen. Before I was married, I was a whole person. I was out here in these
The
streets,
old
and
person.
there may have been somebody's wife that I kept for about 10, 11 years. So that's just my old life.
That's a relationship.
Yeah, it was.
That's like common law in some states.
Yep.
You do know it, like, so that means you paying alimony and palimony and all the rest of it.
No, I ain't paying that, but I'm just saying, once upon a lifetime, I may have done that. Right? I'm just speaking from a
I done
transparent
got
place.
entangled with people wives too.
Yeah. So I get it. If you listen, it is what it is. But so I ain't gonna hold y'all too much longer. I just want to say Thank you so much for tuning into the Regal Mindset, the podcast. We enjoyed the conversation, the banter tonight between us all, and the conversation with the audience. We really appreciate that. We appreciate all the love, the shares, the likes, the whole nine. Until next week, be sure to have a Regal Mindset, and we'll see you then.